What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Pepsi, the dude with attitude. So crack a 40 and check your rollies. Today we are giving you the review of Chapter 2 of The Mandalorian. I hope everyone is having a peptastic day and ready to go to a galaxy far, far away. First off, I do want to apologize for anyone that watched Chapter 1's review. I was wrong about something. I made reference to the fact of, I believe I made reference to the fact of Boba Fett and Jango Fett being actual Mandalorians. Uh, I was actually very incorrect. George Lucas actually confirmed it, that they are actually not Mandalorians. They do have the Mandalorian armor, but they are far from Mandalorians. That's why they're so different from the Mandalorian that we see in this TV show. This Mandalorian in the TV show actually has a code. He has a heart. He actually has a little bit of a conscience too. But you notice Boba Fett and Jango Fett are kind of cold, and they don't care. You know, the only time we ever see Jango Fett really care is in the actual Bounty Hunter game, and that's with like one or like two characters. But he's still very selfish and whatnot. So I don't know about all that stuff, but I do want to apologize. I was wrong. I don't know how they got their armor. It's being speculated that they killed Mandalorians and took them, and they just wanted to have that armor as choice. I don't know, but that is not their armor. And there's actually a reference in Star Wars Clone Wars TV show, which actually proves that they're also not Mandalorians. So I just want to apologize for that misinformation. So first, we're going to do the non-spoiler portion. And when I reach the spoiler portion, I will give y'all a heads up. So let's talk visuals in this episode, and we're going to go a lot quicker. Now let's move on and talk about The Mandalorian. So, and the first half of this is going to be short, and then I'm going to get into spoilers. So, visually, just like the first episode, stunning, beautiful. Not any new planets in this episode, not going to lie. But still very beautiful. And there is one scene where the Mandalorian gets into it with a creature in a fight, and he gets really banged up, and like, it's kind of cool to see that, to see him worn down, and to see him in that state, and they made it look like he'd been through hell at the end of the fight. So props to that. So visually, great once again. Character-wise, there is some character development in this episode, especially with the Mandalorian and his target, as always, and a returning character from the first one, which we'll get into. But mainly just the story kind of progresses. Now, some people have called this a filler episode. And while it kind of comes off like that, I don't feel it's a filler episode. And we'll get into why people are calling it a filler episode later. But to me, the story in this, it was, it didn't really, like, if this episode didn't happen, like, I feel like we wouldn't have really missed anything. This episode just felt like extra good stuff, though. And I'm glad it was there. Story-wise in this, I'd have to probably rate it, probably a 8 out of 10. Up from the last one, because we get a lot more character development. It's not as mysterious as the last one, and we really get to see the Mandalorian in a tight spot in this. So, and the story is also unpredictable from the first one. We think at the end of Chapter 1, And if you haven't seen chapter 1, you need to leave right now, because spoiler alert. But we think at the end of chapter 1 that, okay, he's got the target, he's going to go ahead and take it, and that's what episode 2 is going to be, him delivering the target. But no, that's not what that. So far what I've noticed with both these episodes is they do scenarios. They're doing scenarios like, what if this happened? Well, what if this happened? And they're doing it with a bounty hunter, and they're doing it with a Mandalorian. Yeah, I'm definitely going to give this an 8 out of 7. My roommate, once again, rates the story, rates everything a 10 out of 10. He did that with the first chapter, he's doing it with the second chapter. So far we got 2 10 out of 10s. We'll see if we get that with chapter 3. But alrighty, so now I'm going to get into spoilers and really just talk about the actual episode. In the first episode, it ended with him not killing the target or whatever, saving the target from the droid. Bounty hunters usually do whatever needs to be done. Now you could argue he wants the bigger price, but we'll just have to wait and see if he ever even delivers the target, because as we see in this, another unpredictable factor is he has started to bond with the species. So, and we see that because the species actually saves him, which leads to another thing, which is the kind of cliche thing. The species apparently has force powers. He uses the force and saves the bounty hunter. I personally don't like this. Yes, it's out of nowhere and really cool, but this species is really very rare species, and we already know of 2 of the species that have force powers, and here we are, another one out of nowhere has force powers. So it can be argued that every one of their species is force sensitive, and it's kind of like, it kind of takes away from the specialness. But either way, it's nothing I'm really against or disappointed with, because at the end of the day, I actually, it looks like we're gonna have someone with the Force in this series, so that's interesting. And yeah, so I'll get over it. It's just gonna take away from the specialness of the baby for me. But moving on from that, it was surprising that he did save the bounty hunter with force. So that was out of nowhere. So that was cool that he did that, and that's kind of what led to the bond that leads more and more to a bond that I can see forming a little bit. Now, the main thing that I would not have predicted this episode. I really thought he was going to take and deliver the target. He doesn't. This puts another scenario, just like the first one. What was the first scenario? What if a bounty hunter gets a target that's a baby? Is he going to be remorseless and let it get killed? Is he going to kill it for money? Or is he going to keep it alive? What if he gets this baby? Is he going to care about it? Well, we see that. He could have let that droid kill it, and they could have split it. But no, he saves it, and he kills the droid, and, he's going to deliver it. But I guarantee you, he's probably not going to let anything harm that baby, even after delivery. I think that's what it's going to lead to here. But the scenario we get in this one is, well, what if instead of the bounty hunter being able to head straight back and get in his ship, what if while he was doing all this other stuff, the planet he's on just happens to have Jawas, and they don't steal, but they strip his ship, and so he can't fly, So what's he going to do then? What happens if a bounty hunter loses his transportation, basically? I like that. It's given us scenarios and stuff with questions, and we're kind of getting them answered. And that's what I loved about this episode. He had to dig down deep and be smart. And it really helped his character progress. And it also helped us see him with the baby a little longer, which was really cool. And it also led to the returning character from the first one, which, God help me, I can't remember his name, Mr. I Have Spoken. He's there, and it just so happens that he helps him out and leads leads the Mandalorian to start thinking a little differently and like, okay, I can't just kill all these Jawas. Even though him chasing the Jawas after they stripped his ship was a cool scene, he's got to figure out another way. So he ends up helping him get this egg, and he fights this creature protecting the egg, and that's cool. And when he does, his armor gets damaged and he's all muddy. It looks like he's actually been through a freaking fight. That's what I like. It actually shows some damage and stuff. So that's good. Um, and then once again, the Mandalorian, Mandalorians and this and that usually work with themselves, to my knowledge, and they keep to themselves, especially bounty hunters do, unless they're working together. But this is different. He actually asked Mr. I Have Spoken to join his crew because he feels indebted to him and all this other stuff. Now, the other guy, though, he says he's retired. He's done. We'll probably see him, though, in the future, I think. If we come back to this planet, either way, I think whether it's not the rest of this season, I'm pretty sure in other seasons we're going to see the guy. And I actually like his character. His character's interesting. He doesn't look generic. He's really cool, and I like him. So, I hope we get to see him again. But he did definitely, but because of some of this stuff, it led to the Mandalorian actually being like, well, maybe I can have a partner. Maybe I can have someone help me with this stuff. So we didn't get any more flashbacks in the episode, unless I might have missed it. I watched it twice. I did not see any more flashbacks of the Mandalorian's childhood. That was a little downer. And the episode was also shorter than the last one. And I said I want to bring it up again, so I won't bring up how I don't like how short it is, but I am going to say it was shorter than the last one, and I wish it wasn't. But yeah, I like where the Mandalorian's going. And now that I see how unpredictable it is, yeah, many will probably still predict, okay, now he's going to take it to the target. But I think maybe something's going to happen in space. Maybe we're finally going to get a space sequence, or maybe he's going to get crashed on a planet, or maybe it's going to be about his journey to do the delivery. That's what I really think this whole thing is. And then episode 4 or 5 is going to dig into him delivering the actual target. Maybe I'm wrong. But I will say this, I'm pretty sure that we finally got an answer to the main planet from the first episode, but the second episode, I believe Jawas are native to Tatooine. And that's a sand crawler also. So I'm pretty positive that now that sand planet is Tatooine. Now you may think, well, why didn't you know it was Tatooine to begin with? It's sand. You're stupid. It's either Jakku or Tatooine. Actually, that's a stupid assumption, because there is a lot of planets that have sand and domes and stuff like that. The Tatooine and Jakku is not the only ones. They're just the most popular. Tatooine in the original trilogy, Jakku in the sequel trilogy. But no. And to be honest with you, Tatooine used to actually look like, I think it used to look like Endor or Coruscant. I don't remember which, but it was not always sandy. And that's a cool story that I can talk to y'all about in the future. But no, Tatooine was not always a sand chasm. I promise. But yeah, so we know one of them was Tatooine, but I'm still curious, what was that ice planet that he was on at first? Also, what was that second sand planet? Was that also Tatooine, or? I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping he goes back to the ice planet, but I really wish they would have put the names of the planets. I wish there was like maybe some kind of crawl at the beginning. Like other stuff, but I do know they don't. You know, they didn't do it with Solo, they didn't do it with Rogue One, but it still would have been nice, you know, because I didn't even know how many years this took place after Return of the Jedi, which for those of you that don't know, 5 years, until I actually looked it up. So it is, there can definitely be improvements. However, the show is really good, and it definitely stands. You know, and it definitely has that kind of Western feel to it for Star Wars. And something I want to talk about that I haven't yet is the music. For those of you that don't know, and I might be wrong actually, but John Williams doesn't do the music for this. I'm like 99% sure he doesn't do the music for this. But if he does, then I'll say this, the music's still good. If he doesn't, then I'm impressed because the music, while it's different than other Star Wars movies and stuff, the music is really good and it's different. That's why I'm saying if John Williams is doing it, he's doing a completely different and incredible job. But if he isn't, I'm really impressed with the new person that's doing it because they stepped up and they've given us music that fits perfect with The Mandalorian. And my hat's off to them. My hat's off to Disney Plus. I know a lot of people have complained about what Disney's given us, and a lot of people have said, Star Wars is dead. You know, the 2 movies they gave us, they ruined all the 6. How does 2 versus 6, how does 2 destroy 6? Really? Shit, what if Rise of Skywalker is bad? Are you going to say, well, that's a whole trilogy. Star Wars is ruined. You know, that affects, you know, that affects the originals and the prequels. No, no, no. I'm sorry. I think things are going to change because honestly, honestly, like everyone said the prequels were bad, and now about 10, you know, 5, 10 years later, a lot of people like the prequels. I've always liked the prequels, though that didn't change. I think the sequels will grow on people over time. Maybe they won't, though. We'll have to see. I know there was a lot of backlash on The Last Jedi, but guys, look, it's like this. If we can take Legends and those still, you know, there's a lot of people that to them, the Legends and the EU and whatnot is canon to them, then why don't you just take the sequel trilogy and be like, hey, this is not canon to me? Like, that's what I do. If I like the story and it makes sense, it's canon. To me, the EU is canon, and the sequel trilogy is an alternate reality. It's an alternate timeline. Like, what if instead of Jason Solo and Jano Solo and Cade Skywalker and all these other people and all this other stuff that happens, what if there's a guy named Kylo, and what if there's this, and what if there's that? That's more of how I look at Star Wars. The Old Republic and all this other stuff is canon to me. And yes, it can get contradictory sometimes with the likes of Rebels and The Force Unleashed. However, it still doesn't really affect me because yes, you know, Rebels is the official way of how the rebellion gets built, and it kind of contradicts The Force Unleashed. But at the same time, I like The Force Unleashed. But I also like Rebels. Rebels is really good. I can't imagine a Star Wars where neither one of them existed because I really, really liked Rebels a lot more than I ever thought I was going to. So when people say that a movie ruins it, like people are saying, there's some people that are saying The Mandalorian's the best thing since Return of the Jedi and it's saving Star Wars. But then some people are saying Star Wars can't be saved. Saved from what? It's a galaxy with a bunch of stories. Not all the stories you're going to love. Believe me, I have my disappointments with Star Wars too. But to say one movie or a trilogy can affect a franchise, nothing really destroys a legacy. Because the legacy was there first. Alright? So I'm sorry. But that's just my thoughts. And I honestly believe The Mandalorian highly strengthens Star Wars. And I was talking with my little brother and I was saying how I would love for them to, if they're going to take a break after all these movies, make a bunch of little TV shows. No, not little TV shows, but just TV shows in general, like The Mandalorian. We got The Mandalorian, that's great. I want an Old Republic TV show. Every episode 50 minutes to an hour long. 10 episodes a season. That would be so great. Each season could explore a certain set in time, because the Old Republic takes place, and the Knights of the Republic takes place over thousands and thousands of years. So each season can deal with stuff. We can finally see Ravan. We can finally see the Eternal Emperor. There's so much stuff they could dive into. Another series that would be good is the series they originally had planned, but they did The Mandalorian instead, which was an underground world, that dealt with Coruscant and stuff. Another series that could be done is, a bridging gap, more series that happens with between episodes 6 and 7. Resistance was supposed to be that, but Resistance happens literally right before The Force Awakens, I found out. So I'm actually slightly disappointed by that, because I thought Resistance was going to be like Rebels. Rebels takes place 4 years before New Hope and builds up to A New Hope. I kind of want something that, whether it's animated or not, builds from episode 6 to 7. Okay? There's just a lot of shows. Those are only 3, but I am actually going to make a more in-depth video about what are some more actual Star Wars TV shows they can make that we could all like. But if they're going to take a break from the movies, let's go with some TV shows. Oh, you can't milk Star Wars. Milk Star Wars for all it's worth. Blah, blah. Star Wars is different. It is not. It's not the Equalizer. It's not. It's not freaking certain, not Die Hard. It's not these movies where if you milk, they don't work anymore. Even though I've watched all the Die Hards and I personally like all the Die Hards, but Star Wars is different. It's a galaxy. It's so many freaking stories. So I don't know. But that's my thoughts on Star Wars, and that's my thoughts on The Mandalorian. I think it strengthens Star Wars. I think Star Wars is not dead, nor will it ever be dead. And I'm really enjoying The Mandalorian. And I hope all of you are too. This thing with Yoda this thing with the Yoda species using the Force, we'll probably find out more about later. Maybe he's just slightly Force sensitive. I don't know. Like I said, it's kind of seeming like everything from Yoda's species is Force sensitive now, but we'll just move beyond that and be happy that we got a Force something with the Force and The Mandalorian, you guys. So yeah. Anyway, hopefully y'all enjoyed this video. Let me know if y'all had any differences or any different thoughts. Please comment down below. Let me know if you did not enjoy this review. Let me know what we could have done better. And if you did enjoy the video, please remember to leave a like. And if you're new to the channel and enjoyed it, subscribe for further content. We don't just do reviews. We do comedy like Ralph Time Hi Daddy and Star Wars Battlefront Dudes vs. the Galaxy. So be sure to check both of those out on your way out. And we also do stories. So Death Stranding, Jedi Fallen Order in the future. Got a lot of stuff planned. And, yeah. So be sure to check that stuff out. And if not, we hope you have a peptastic future and find your way back to us anyway, because we're greedy and we want you to subscribe. And with that, remember, Pepsi then, Pepsi now, Pepsi forever, and most importantly, survive and endure. Destiny is all. And if you're not down with that, we only got 2 words for you. Fuck off. May the Force be with you.